All right, so 5 o'clock, everyone. We are ready to rock and roll. Let's get the show on the road. I would love to hear from you guys. Who can get the closest to 24 with these 4 numbers? Can anyone get 24? And I'd love you to type that in the chat. And I want everyone to have a go at this. Even if you get it wrong, give us whatever it is that you think would work. You might say 1 times 4 plus 1. What does that get me to? That gets me to 5. And then times 7, that gets me to 35. So that's still far away from 24. But I want to see what your attempts are. And this is just to warm your brain up, to get you in the mood for maths. Aha. 7 times 4. Miss Anya's given it a go. 7 times 4 is 28 plus 1 plus 1. Well, you're closer than me, Miss Anya. So well done. Afikile is closer than both of us. 4 times 7 is 28, minus 1 is 26. So we're getting closer, we're getting warmer, but we're not quite there yet. Who can get us over the line? So these are the options we've had so far. 7 times 4 plus 1 plus 1. That didn't get us there. We've also had 4 times 7 minus 1 minus 1. So this got to 30, and this got to 26. So that's the closest so far. What have I got? Pen. Ooh, sneaky. I see some brackets. So Miss Anya has said 4 times 6 times. Oh, I think you had it. I think you have it. Let's have a look. Is that okay? So 4, what is 7 minus 1? We do the brackets first. So this goes back to our previous unit. Whenever we have a number sentence like this, the brackets are always going to be executed first. And so we get 6 for that. And so we get 4 times 6. And so we've used up the 7, the 1, and the 4. And then just to use the 1, we go times 1. And that gets us to the magic number of 24. Ma'am got it. She did. Ma'am, you're on fire. Well done. Okay,
sorry,
so guys,
I was just too eager.
I know. Next time the students are going to bring the heat. Okay, so if you're a little bit confused by this Maths 24 game, we often play it at the beginning of a lesson just to get warm, and I always try and bring a new card just to get you going. Okay, so let's talk about admin and announcements. So just at the end of today, there will be a formative quiz at the end of the lesson, and in order to do that quiz, you will need to be, if I remember correctly, you will need to have a Watobe username and password. And you get that by basically signing up on the website. So I think most of you would have that. We will send you the link in the chat at about 5:40, 5:45. And it's a chance for you to see like kind of what have you remembered from these lessons and how much are you retaining. Miss Anya, you will, if you can, you at the end of the lesson, you'll be putting the link, if possible, in the chat, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I said, just keep an eye on the chat. At about like 1:45 or so, roughly, I'll post the link in the chat.
And then after you do the quiz tonight, so when you leave here, I'll say goodbye to you and you go off and do the quiz. You finish the lesson by doing the quiz. Okay, so just to let you know that is coming up at the end. And then let's just talk about the last lesson. So what happened, in case some of you are joining us for the first time, we spoke about the number set called the integers, and they have a fancy symbol like the Z like that. And the integers are really just all the numbers on the number line that don't have fractional bits. So if you want to imagine it, you know, if we're going off to positive infinity, which looks like a sideways 8 on this side, if I keep going up in ones, I get all the positive integers. 0 is included in the integers. And if I keep going down in ones, I get the negative integers. And if I keep going all the way to negative infinity. So this is a particularly important set of numbers. And what we're making sure we know how to do with them is we're making sure we know how to add and how to subtract them. And in the previous lesson, there was a couple of important things I said. I said, whenever you have to add or subtract an integer, you first want to think, where on the number line is the first number? So you find that number on the number line. Maybe that number is 3. And then ask yourself, am I adding to that number? In which case I will be going in that direction. Or am I subtracting from that number? In which case I'll be going in that direction. So that was an important idea. And then the other important idea is what happens when we have a double negative. Because sometimes now we have the situation where we're subtracting a negative number. And this is a little bit odd, given that if you haven't dealt with negative numbers, and we need a rule and a way of doing that. So I want to put that to the class. What does a double negative have the effect of being? If I'm not hungry, was the example I used last time. If I'm not hungry, I'm actually hungry. So what does that mean for this example? What is 2 minus minus 2 the same as? If you could put that in the chat, that would be fantastic. I just want to see if everybody can, in fact, everybody put your guesses in the chat. What do you get if you go 2 minus minus 2? If you want to write that as a, okay, I see it. I see it. Positive, indeed. 2 minus minus 2 is actually the same as 2 plus 2. And so that would give us 4. So if I was doing this on the number line like I did in the last lesson, oh, sorry, guys, I think my trackpad is being a bit wonky. If I had to visualize the sum on the number line, what I would say is that the first number is 2. And so I'd find 2 on the number line. And then I asked myself, what is a double negative? It's a positive. And because it's a positive, and I'm adding 2, I then need to go 2 hops in that direction, which gets me to the number 4. And my final answer is 4. So it's a lot like dealing with whole numbers, except you got to keep in mind that there's sometimes, and the other thing I really made a big fuss about was if you have 2 operations next to each other, so a minus and a minus next door to each other, that you need to think about, how do I deal with that? That's going to be a key idea, because later today, we're not just going to have negatives and negatives next to each other. We might sometimes have negatives and positives together. And so that's going to come up later. Okay, but I've done too much talking. I want you guys to do these 4 questions for me. And what I want is, when you've done these 4 questions, in the chat, you put your answer for 11, 12, 13, and 14. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes. So it's now 9 minutes past 5. At 17:12, everyone is going to put whatever they've done in the chat, and we will go from there.
So while the kids do that, I'm just quickly going to run to the loo. I'll be back in a minute. Okay.
Awesome. All right, I'm watching the chat, guys. So you need a bit more time, but when those things come in, I see someone's hand is up too. The person whose hand is up, you can unmute yourself. Murdy, go ahead and just let me hear your question.
Sir, I need to answer for number 12.
Number 12.
Yes.
can I, Murdy, ask you to pause just for a second because I want to give students a chance, and then I'll come to you in about a minute's time. I just want to give a little bit more time. If you need a challenge question there, for those who are feeling a little bit like, I'm going to add a 15, which is going to be my made-up question, and that is going to be minus. Okay, so I've made my own question for anybody who needs a little bit more, who needs another question. We'll call it number 15. So see if you can get that one. It's a little bit of a sneaky one.
And just for those that didn't read the chat, I am back. So apologies for that.
Cool.
Murray, let me know in the chat if I can lower your hand or if there's anything I can help with.
Oh, I just took his question there. Okay, Murdy, come online. Give us your number 12. Tell us your thinking when you were doing number 12.
Yes, my answer is negative 11.
And how did you get that, Murdy? Could you tell us what you were thinking?
So I said negative times a negative. Wait, I said 10 times 1, which is 10.
Okay.
Actually, wait.
Yeah. So I think, Murdy, I liked where you were going. The only thing I would differ with is I would first find -1 here on the number line and then go, which direction do I need to go in? I need to go 10 units in that direction. And if I go 10 units from -1, I get to -11, which is the answer that you gave. For 13, it'll be 1. And for 14, I have to go -8. Now this double negative is here again, which I remember double negative is the same as a positive, so I get that. And then I ask myself, okay, I'm at -8, but now which direction do I go? Oh, flip, I'm below 0, so I need to actually go. I need to go in this direction. I need to go 6 units in that direction. And if I do that, I'm not even going to get to 0. I'm still going to be below 0. And so the answer is going to be -2. And then for 15, and if you could just keep an eye on the chat in terms of the answers that are coming in. What do we get for 15?
So and for number 15, we've got a 1, we've got a -1.
Okay. It's in the right ballpark.
Yeah, that's about all that I see so far for number 15.
Okay. So here are the answers for the first 4, and let's everybody try and do number 15. Learning any lessons we can from the first bits. So remember the method I taught you. What is a double negative? If you minus a minus, what's that the same as? That's the key to this question. So -8 plus 9. And then if we want to visualize this on the number line, we go to -8 because that's what we started with. And now we're adding 9. But in 8 jumps, I'm going to get to 0. So now I need to go 9 jumps. So I'm going to go even past that. And the answer is going to be 1. And so I see many of you have got 1. And so well done. I think we can move on. So I'm going to give you these 6 questions now. And then after we've done this safely, then we're going to move on to something a bit new. So everybody, if you could do your best to do, this is the new number 15 and to 20. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes again. And then I'll give you the answers. I'll speed it up a little bit, but you have to be careful here because the numbers are a bit bigger. And so it's easy to make silly mistakes. So the time is now 5:15, and I'm going to give you until 15:18 to do these 6, which is about 30 seconds a question.
So do you mind zooming in just a little bit, just so it focuses on the 6 questions, please?
Cool.
Okay, that should be better. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks. You guys are winning it live. 15 is indeed 7. Now, what about 16? Ah, I see some answers coming. Afikile has given an answer there. I haven't worked it out yet, but you look like you're in the right ballpark. I feel like you're on the Benjamin had the same. Oh, lots of you have the same answer. I better check number 16 out. So I know the double negative is plus 31. And so now I need to make sure I can add up 48 and 31. And 40 and 30 is 70. And so I get 79. So I agree with you. We're all in the right. There we go.
Sorry, sir, to interrupt. I saw Lesedi's hand going up and down a few times.
Yes.
I don't know if Lesedi wants to answer a question or there's an issue.
Come on, Lesedi, while we're doing this question, it's a perfect time for a question. Please pop on.
Yeah, hello,
Unmute
sir.
your mic. Go ahead. Yeah, how's it going, man?
I'm fine, sir.
Cool. What's the question?
I wanted to ask, I didn't understand number 14. Sir. I didn't know how to get that.
Do you mean number 15 up
yes,
here?
14.
14.
Yes, sir.
Okay, -8 minus 6. I'll do this on the side. So 14 minus 8 minus 6.
Yes, sir.
So the absolute key with this is to recognize that you have 2 negatives next to each other. And when you have a double negative, the effect is that it ends up being the same as a positive. This is a really important idea that I focused on a lot in the last lesson, but it's worth coming back to until that's important. And then once you've got that, Lesedi, you need to ask yourself, okay, well, what is -8 plus 6? And what I always recommend students do is they think, where is the first number on the number line? And then do I need to go left or right from there? And because it's a +6, I know I need to go in that direction. And then I just need to ask myself, where do I end up if I go 6 units going right from -8? Okay. So the next one is a bit tricky because we have to make sure we're going to definitely go past 0. So it's definitely going to be a negative. The question is, how negative is it going to be? And we use up 18 of those. So we would get 23. I get -23 in my head, but I might have had a moment. What is everyone else getting here? Let's have a look. Is no one agreeing with me? -59. Okay, guys, so let's have a look. So if we look at 17, we start at 18. And now we're taking away 41. So where are we going to go? In fact, let me put my 18 a little bit further up. So think about this. Whenever I start with a number like 17, the question is 18 minus 41. So where is 18 on the number line? Let me even zoom in to really make this the focus. So here I am at 18, and I've got to take away 41. Now, because 41 is bigger than 18, I'm actually going to go past 0. And so the question then is, how much more do I need to go past? Because I need to use up 41 in total. And so for me, what number, 18 and what gives me 41? I'm pretty sure 18 and 23 together would give me 41. Yes. So I need to keep going another 23 units. Now, where do I end up? If I go 23 units below 0, I end up at -23. So what I really want to focus on today is see how my method works for all the different questions. I ask myself, where is the first number? And then do I go left or do I go right? And you'll see me coming back to this every time. let me do number 18. So now I'm starting at minus 38. So actually, let me do it here. Let's pretend that minus 38 is up here. And actually, if you imagine what my number line looks like, here's 0 and here's minus 38. Now I have to go from minus 38 and I have to still go 30 units in this direction. And so if I go 30 units in that direction, because I'm taking away 30, I'm going to end up at minus 68 as my answer. So I think a lot of you have got that. And then for 19 and 20, this is going to be the same as minus 1 plus 3. And I'm not going to draw the number line for this, but I'm sure you can all imagine you get to 2. And then for this one, I get minus 1 plus 40. Now I have to be careful with this one because I'm starting life at minus 1. Now that is just below 0, but I need to travel 40 units in this direction. But I'm going to use up one of those units getting to 0, which means I can only travel another 39 in total, which means that my final answer will be 39. Okay. So yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Ria Betswe just shared a really good idea in the chat that I think might also help just on top of your theory. So Dave mentioned that if you're subtracting a smaller number by a bigger number, but the bigger number is negative, your answer always be negative. So for instance, in the chat, I wrote, apologies, 23 minus 40. So immediately, as Sir said, you must first go and identify where 23 is on your number line. And we know that's on the right-hand side because it's a positive number. But we know 40 is a big number and it's minus, so we're going to move left. But if that's a lot to process, another shortcut that you can do is you can literally just say, right, well, what is 40 minus 23? That is, oh, I see I wrote 16. It should be 17. Sorry, guys, typo. Yeah. It's 17, but you can't leave your answer as 17. It's actually negative 17. Sorry, I see I made a typo in that message. I'll correct it now.
So basically I think the important point there is that if the number you're subtracting is generally bigger than the number that you're taking away from, you're going to end up in negative land. But I would encourage you, if you keep practicing this idea of the number line, I promise you with students I've seen, it just clicks and they're good to go. Can you give me a thumbs up if you're feeling okay? And can you give me a thumbs down if you're still feeling a bit shaky about this? Because I want to move on to something a little bit different. I want to kind of speed up a little bit. Okay. Can you just keep an eye on the... Okay. I think generally we're ready to move on. Okay, so when we are adding and subtracting positives, when we're adding and subtracting integers, there's only 4 situations that can happen. And what I've got is the 4 different cases here. The first 2 cases are you start life, let me zoom in. You start life with a positive number, and then you do something to that. Or you can start life with a negative number and then do something to that. And so I just want to do a selection of questions from those 2 cases before I move on. So let us do, we are going to do 13. So basically, we're going to do these ones. So 13, 14, and 15. And then I want you to also do from case 2, these ones. If we get all of these right, then I'm going to show you something new. But I want everyone to make sure that they can do 13. So these 6 questions that are on the screen now. And notice how in this one over here, I call these case 1 questions. You start with a positive. And in case 2, you're starting with a negative. Because there's only so many possibilities out there. And if you know how to deal with every possibility, you are golden. Okay. So I think, yeah, I think everyone, that one's quite easy. Now, what's 25 minus 10? Okay, so this is going to be the same as 25 plus 10, which gives you the answer of 35. And what's 0 minus 2? Well, that's going to be 0 plus 2, which is 2. Okay, so that's 13, 14, 15. How do we do 4, 5, and 6? So remember, in this question, you first have to deal with the double negative, and then you have to think about a number line. So the first step in that question is to do that. This one, you don't have to do that. In this question, you do that. Now you have to work out, where do you end up on the number line when you add minus 8 plus 5? And I'm going to monitor the chat for answers to see. Well done. Okay, so I see answers from Kai Hilichle, from Trevor, from Neo, from Lenati. I see those answers coming in. Keep them coming. From Benjamin, also answers coming in. From Micah. And Neo's on fire today. The answers are flying in. So again, I'm just going to wait a little bit. So when we have minus 8 plus 5, we start off life at minus 8, and we have to go 5 units in the positive direction. Where do we end up? We end up at negative 3. For question number 5, we start life at minus 4, and we go 4 units up, and so we end up with a 0. Neo on the money. Neo, I don't know if anyone's ever told this, there's a famous character in a movie called The Matrix that I quite enjoy, and his name is Neo. And then number 6, what's the answer for number 6? So we minus 5 plus 10, where do we end up? Aha, minus 5 plus 10, we end up at plus 5. Because if you think of the number line, we at minus 5, we move 5 units to get to 0, and then we move another 5 units to get to 5. Okay, guys, you have smashed this. I want you to all stand up and give yourself a round of applause. Give yourself a round of applause, because I think you deserve it. Here we go. Oh, I love the mics. Let's hear the clapping. Okay. I think it's time for a brain break before I give you the last bit of the day, lesson of the day. So what I want to do today, can you all see me? Anya, can you see me in the camera? I haven't actually, I've moved my
Yeah,
webcam.
we can see you.
Okay. So what I want you to do is everybody standing up, and I want you to take your right hand, and I want you to put it on your nose, and then I want you to take your left hand and put it on your right ear. Okay, so notice that you've got your right hand on your nose, your left hand on your ear, and then I want you to move your hand from your ear to your nose, and then your hand from your nose to your other ear, and see if you can switch. And so see if you can do this movement. So you're switching from one to the other, and see how hard it is to do that. I've done it many times. This is another brain break, and it forces your brain to really.
I feel silly.
It's hard though, huh? Give me a thumbs up if you managed to do that. Give me a thumbs up if you managed to do that. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't, because I think most of you would have found that very hard. But was a cool little brain break. Okay. So these are all the tricks, you know, guys, when we have, I don't know if at your school you have double lessons, but when I used to do double lessons, I always used to make my students stand up and do a whole bunch of these brain breaks, because there's just no way that they, I had no control of my hand. Pumzile, that's exactly what happened to me the first time. I think this is something called a midline crossing. So it's quite hard for your brain to, anyway, I'm not going to go into that today, but it's a very cool exercise to practice just for coordination. Okay. What I want to move on to is case 3 and 4 questions to end today. And so if we look at case 3, what you will notice, so everyone back to their desks, back to where you are just to get ready to roll, you'll notice that all of the case 3 questions start with a positive number. Okay, so there's nothing new there. These all have positive numbers, but what is new is sometimes you have a situation where you have a positive and a negative next to each other, and we've never talked about what happens. So if you add a negative number, or if you, in all these situations, these are new to us, and so we need a way of dealing with them. And it's as simple as this. You know that previously, you know, if you get feedback from someone, and we're all quite sensitive, and so if you get positive feedback and you get negative feedback together, which feedback tends to stay with you afterwards? Put that in the chat. So if you talk to someone and they tell you something nice about you and they tell you something not so nice, what's the part that you normally remember afterwards? Can you put that in the chat? So normally as humans, if you get a little bit of a positive and a bit of a negative, you tend to remember the negative. And so that's kind of the way to remember this. If you've got a 10 plus minus 7 and they're next to each other, the effect is actually that becomes 10 minus 7, because we tend to remember the negative like longer. For whatever reason, our brains tend to do that. So whenever you have, now this is different to the one before, which was a double negative. A double negative canceled each other out, but a positive and a negative next to each other, the negative will win out. And so in this first question, I'm going to do a couple with you, but then you're going to do some for me. But 10 minus 7 is 3. That's straightforward. 10 plus minus 7 is actually the same as 10 minus 7. And that's the new bit. And that's going to be 3. 4 plus minus 4, the negative is going to win out. And you're going to get 4 minus 4, which gives you 0. Okay, so it's not very complicated, but you do need to get that very clearly into your head. So what I want you to do now is I want everyone to do these 6 questions and see if you can take the idea from that first set of examples and apply it in these 6 questions. And when you give your answers, just say 7, 8, 9. Tell me which question it is. And the main idea I want you to focus on is if you're adding a negative, if they're both next to each other, then we tend to remember the negative. And so the negative will win out. And it's not to say that's nice or that's right. It's just, human nature, unfortunately. And it's a nice way of remembering that when you're doing this.
So do you mind zooming in only on those 6 questions just for our viewers who are watching from their phones?
Thank you so much. That's such helpful. Yeah, it's on the mobile phones. I think that makes a big difference.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so number 7's answer I see in the chat. Kayla has got -1. I agree with you, Kayla. That's what I get as well. I see Trevor's got some answers coming in already. Micah's got answers coming in. Neo's got answers. Tando. This is great, guys. It's really good to see you participating. And like I said at the beginning, active learners will retain this. So even if you get it wrong when you put it in the chat, the fact that you get it wrong and then you see the right answer helps you remember it better. So we have 12 plus minus 10 is the same as 12 minus 10, which is 2. 1 minus 9 is minus 8. That was quite a simple one. I'll give you a little bit more time for the next one. I'll get some water. Let's zoom into this. Okay, so 10 is 10 minus 14. Now think about the number line here. Think about this. Think about I'm at 10 and I have to go 14 units to the left, which means I'm going past 0 and I'm going to go 4 more units, which ends up being minus 4. Let's have a look at the chats. So again, Kayla agrees with me. Kailichle has got that. Malcolm is with us on that, which is great. So we all seem to be in approximately the neighborhood. Murdy's there with us. Afikile. Okay, so it looks like we're on the right track. So number 11 is 3 minus 14. Now we have to be careful here. Notice how the 14 is bigger than 3. So I know I'm going to end up being negative. But how far do I need to go in the negative? I'm at 3. And I'm going to use up 3 getting to 0. And then I have to go 11 more in order to get down. So it's minus 11. And then 9 plus minus 8 is going to be 9 minus 8, which is 1. Okay. So give me a thumbs up if you feel like you're handling this okay. Give me a thumbs down if you feel like, eesh, this is so much harder than the last time. Okay. Yeah, I think if we handle this systematically, it's actually not that bad, but you just have to keep adding to your knowledge base as you go. Well, let's do case 4 then, guys. And since you are on such a roll, I feel like I want you to fly solo. Now, I could give you an example, but it's so much more satisfying if you figure it out yourself. So I'm going to say, students of grade 8 Watobe class, will you attempt these 3 questions by yourself and see if you can figure out where they end up? Now, I know I'm asking a lot. I'm pushing you now. It's like the spin class where the instructor is like, you can do it. But just think about what we've learned so far. Like, what ideas can we use to help us figure this out? And I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do that. So at 17:41, we'll have a chat. But I want you to struggle a little bit. I want you to push yourself past your boundaries. Okay, so be careful here. Think about what is the effect of the plus minus. Like, what does that do? And then once you figured out, what is the relationship between the minus 9 and whatever's on the other side? Same thing here. Watch out for this plus minus. You need to translate this. What is the overall effect of plussing a minus? That's what I want you to put your attention on. So from previously, what we said was plussing a minus is the same as a minus. And so you need to figure out what happens with that. Number 5 is the same sort of question. And then number 6, same thing. Minus 4 plus minus 6 is just going to be the same as that. And so now we look at our number lines and we say, what is happening? We're at minus 9. That's where we start life out. And we take away 2. Now, what direction is take away 2 going to go? It's going to go in that direction. So it has to get more negative, which gives me minus 11. I'll give you a little bit more time because I did say I would stay until I'll give you another minute. I see Kayla's answers coming through. Where Betswear's come answer, Malcolm's come through with an answer. So number 5, guys, I agree. Do I agree? I think I do. If you add -8 and you take away 4, you end up with -12. And in this one, if you add -4 and you take away 6, what do you get? What do you get? Think about the number line and then pop that answer in the chat. I had somebody whispering now. It is -10. Yes, guys, it is. It's -10.
Well, it's enough for us to hear those.
I know, but I like the whisper.
Really a whisper, but I like that. Whoever it was, well done. I like that.
Okay, guys. Wait, before I move on, give me a thumbs up if you're feeling good. Give me a thumbs down if you're feeling confused, because I'm going to jump to another set of questions like this, but a little bit harder. I just want to see that I've got most of the group with me. Thumbs up if you're feeling like, you know, I can do this. Let's keep rolling. Thumbs down if you're feeling a little bit out. Okay. I saw a couple of thumbs down, so I'll be mindful of making sure I explain everything in detail. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you guys to do these 3 questions. So the only ones that are on the board now, I want you to all please do 13, 14, and 15. And then we may just call it a day for today.
Yeah. So while they're calculating that, I have got the link to the quiz. I'll pop it, not now, but later. But I see Kai Liegler has got their hand up. Do you mind passing the mic to them?
No problem at all. Go ahead.
Sir, I wanted to ask, sir, if you say -2 plus -2, what happens then?
Oh, I love that question. I love it. -2, say it again. And what's the rest?
Plus -2.
Okay, plus. Okay, so you would probably, I think you're talking about something like this. If I'm really, because plus -2.
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, I put all these brackets in plus. Can you do that? -2. Okay, well, this is the way I would work it out. I would just say this is +2, so that's not very exciting. And then over here, a double negative plus -2. Well, these 2 negatives are also going to be positive. So and a plus is still it's still a plus. It doesn't change. So that whole question becomes 2 plus 2, which is 4. So really, you just deal with the negatives, the double negatives, you know, and once you dealt with that, if you plus 2 things together, they still say a plus. But good question. I like that. I like it when students have inquiring minds. For 13, because we don't have a double negative, because we only have a positive, you know, and then or plus a negative, it's going to end up being negative. And so that's going to be like that. So I'll give you a little bit more time to finish those.
So can I ask you a question?
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Could you please, like, I can't see the full question for number 15.
Okay. Is that
Yes,
better?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so 13 minus 12 minus 3 is minus 15. And I think it's, you know, we think about, we're at minus 12. And what do we, the minus 3, what does that make us do? It makes us go in that direction. How much does it go in that direction by? It goes in that direction by 3. And so that's why we end up with minus 15. With 14, I'm already at minus 16 when I start life. And now I must go 2 units to the left. So we get minus 18. And then the last one, I'm at minus 50 to start life. And then I have to go 50 units more to the left because I'm taking away 50. And so I end up with minus 100. And in the chat, I see some people saying 100, so be careful. It is minus 100, definitely. But maybe that was just a typo. But I think most students seem to have got this. Okay, well, everyone, I think that you've done really well today. And so just to reinforce what we've covered, we have handled how to add and subtract integers, and we've covered every possible case where we start with a negative or where we start with a positive. And the main ideas that we dealt with really that you have to remember is if you have minus a minus, you end up with a plus. If you have plus a minus, you end up with a minus. And that idea is one that you will carry forward with you as you learn to deal with integers. What I'm going to do now is, for those, Ms. Anya is going to put the link to the formative quiz, the fun quiz that we do, just to get a feel for how much you're retaining. And once you are comfortable and you feel like you are ready for that quiz, I would say off you go, do the best you can, and well done for applying yourself so well tonight. For those students who would like to ask a few more questions, I can ask you to stay on the line, and if you put your hand up, I will answer your questions individually. But for those students who are like, I'm ready, I've got enough practice, I just want to do this fun quiz now, then if you could click on that link, and after you finish the quiz, you are dismissed, right? So you don't have to come back here. I wish you well, and I say goodbye to you now, and I will see you on Monday. But those students who would like to ask questions, I see Trevor has his hand up. Trevor, do you want to go ahead? Bye, Komehiro.
Bye, sir.
Bye, Neil. Bye, Caleb. Pleasure, guys. It was really nice to meet you today. Trevor, go ahead and ask your question.
Sure.
Yeah. What's your question, Trevor?
Sir.
Bye, Lenati. Yep, go ahead.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Please, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sir. If I say a bracket minus 15 bracket plus a bracket plus 20 a close bracket minus
I lost you there. What's next?
a bracket again minus 6 plus 2 and a close bracket.
Okay, good question. How do we solve this?
Yes,
so according to BODMAS, you always, or PEMDAS, you always deal with the brackets first. But you might ask yourself, well, what is minus 15 if you deal with the bracket? And minus 15 in a bracket is the same as minus 15 by itself. If you're adding this, the same thing here, you do the brackets first, but a bracket around something doesn't really change it. And so this is going to be plus 20. Now in this scenario, there is two things inside, and you have to decide what is minus 6 plus 2. And this is where I want to suggest you look at the number line and you say, well, I'm at minus 6, and then I add 2. Now, if I add 2, I have to go 2 in that direction. Where do I end up? I end up at minus 4. And so now what you've got is you've got minus 4. But you also know, okay, that minus 4 is the same as plus 4. Okay, so after you've dealt with this bracket here, after you've dealt with this one first and you've got an answer, because you always do brackets first, now you can deal with the double negative. And so the double negative gives you a plus 4. And so now what you need to do is simply go, well, now you just do them in the order that they are, because positive and negative are the same level. So if you start out life at minus 15, which is what I have here, and I add 20, where do I get to? Well, I go all the way up to 0, and I actually have to keep going. I have to keep going 5 more, and I get to 5. And so then I get 5 plus 4, and then I get 9. And so the answer would be 9. So now in the next lesson, we are going to be doing more combination questions. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about, we are going to do a little bit more combination stuff. Today, I just wanted to make sure you had those rules very clear. Okay, guys, I'm going to ask you now to go off to that quiz and just, do the best that you can. And I will see you on Wednesday, but it has been, Monday. But it's been a lot of fun teaching you. And I feel like every time we do this, we get a little bit better at what we do, which would make sense. Everything in life takes practice. Okay, Anya, anything from you before I pop over to our grade 11s?
No, that's fine. I'm happy to stay on a bit if anyone has questions.
So Ms. Anya will stay on for a little bit just to take any additional questions. But it has been fantastic being with you, and I will see you on Monday. So peace out from me.